This is where you go, and then it will ask you for your credentials. So the credentials which you have already mm, registered with, you can use the same credential to log into the Azure. Generally your Gmail account works with Azure, no issue at all, or your Outlook account can work with Azure. Okay, so yeah, once you're logged in, it will bring you to this screen. This is like the home screen of Azure, and under the home screen it's very simple to navigate like all Windows product. It's that easy. So you get whatever you have opened recently, all the resources. So everything in Azure is called a resource. So like whether it's a virtual machine, whether it's like a data factory, whether it's a storage account, whether it's like logic app, all the services, they are called they are called the resources, or you can also call them services. Okay, so here it will show you the recent services of Azure in this part here. All right, and then here you see on the top you can type in anything, and you can also search from here any resources. Plus if you go here, so plus if you go here it will, from here also you can navigate to all the different resources of Azure. Of course, this is the home screen, and then we have something called dashboard, and the resources, the app services, the function apps, because technically you can do anything on Azure. You can create your own website and you can host it on Azure. Okay, you can store the files. So once once we go in my other videos, I'll take one topic at a time and will give you more details on that. Okay, now before we start on Azure, this is what you need to understand, that in Azure everything is like a subscription. So here, right, this is your subscription. This is called a subscription. Okay, this is your subscription. So everything under Azure is on a subscription, because you have subscribed to Azure, so that's how it is called a subscription. Now under the subscription you have something called the resource group. I always use one terminology, like as name states, that's how it works in IT. So as the name states, like the resource group, it means the group of the resources. We already talked about the resources, what they are, right? Like the resources are the storage account, or the logic app, or web app, or your website. Anything is a resource. Now the resources will be grouped together under the resource group. So this is your resource group, and under the resource group these are your resources. So don't worry about various resources as of now. We will go to the resources in more detail. So these are your resources. So this is how it goes, right? Like your resources, then the resource groups, and then you have the subscription. And on the top of this there is something called a tenant. Okay, because when you log into Azure, you are actually logging into a particular tenant, and that tenant will have different subscriptions, and those subscription will have different resource groups. So let me show you this in action on the Azure portal itself. So when you go log into the Azure portal, so for example, this is my resource. So this is like the storage account. So don't worry about what the storage account is, but you see here, this is my resource. Storage account is my resource. And then here you will see it is showing me that it is under this subscription, and then it is showing me it is under this resource group. So as I was mentioning before, right, one tenant can actually have, so when you log into Azure, uh, you're actually logging into a tenant, and one tenant can have multiple subscriptions. So what is the concept of having the multiple subscription, right? The concept of having a multiple subscription means that, suppose you're working on development environment, you're working on UAT environment, you're working on production environment. So all these are different subscription, because you want to make sure that your IST or development environment is different, and then your UAT and production environments are different. Since we are working on a single portal, unlike your on-prem applications where you can have different servers, so development server, UAT server, production server, here everything is a portal. So that's why you have different subscription to differentiate. Now under the subscription you have different resource groups. So one subscription, as I mentioned here, right, one subscription can have multiple resource groups, and they will have the resources. The reason why they have done it like this is because now, for example, if you have, say, multiple storage accounts and you want to club or keep all those storage accounts under one group, so that's why you can have multiple groups. So all your storage account can go under one resource group, all your virtual machines can go under another resource group, your networking piece can go in one resource group, like that. And then ultimately all will go to the subscription. So under one tenant you have, as I mentioned, right, like you have a subscription which can be your development. Now you can also have multiple subscription under the same tenant. The reason is this can be your development, right, and this can be your production, like this. So these resources are your production resources, these resources are your development resources. They have their own subscription, and all these subscription ultimately they go to the tenant, which is your login, kind of. Okay, so here you see, right, the subscription. Now if I go to the subscription, see, it's a simple click, so you can directly click on it, and when you go to the subscription it will give you, so this is pretty much interesting, and I like this feature. So almost all the resources on Azure, they have the same menu options here. You will technically, you will see in every resources you will have overview, you will have activity log, you will have the access control. So we will talk about each of these different tabs here in more detail in my other videos. But for now, just to have a look. So there is something like the tag, the security, and then you can see the cost management, because there is cost associated with whatever you do. So if you have a storage account and if you are storing a file in there, it can be 10 GB, 1 terabyte of file, whatever. So there is a cost associated with that. Okay, and then you can also see the resource visualizer here, which will display the resources under this particular subscription. Okay, so again, as I said, like, we will look into each of these tabs, and we will look into the subscription and what it is, what are these options in more detail later. But for now I'm just giving an overview, because this is the kind of introductory session of Azure. And here you will see the resource group. So when you click on the resource group, here it will show you all the resources which are there under this resource group. As I said, right, you can have like a development. Under this there is a resource group, and if you want, based on your own requirement, you can keep all. So I mean, there is no limitation. You can create multiple subscription, you can create multiple resource groups, and under that you can place your resources. So all my storage accounts can go here, and my logic app, web app can go here, and virtual machines can go here. So these are different resource group, but they're all in development. How I know that they are in development? Because of my subscription. So if you look into my subscription here, right, the name, so you will make sure that you are giving a very meaningful name. So for example, in this case I am saying it is Azure IST, which tells me that it is development. IST is development, and then it says like some number here, and then this is my subscription. 220 is my subscription. Same thing you will see in the resource group also. I have something like IST, 0220, which says that okay, it is under the same subscription. Because if you give a name, like for example, if you call your you can give any name technically, but if you call your resource group as virtual machine, then how will you know that okay, these are development, these are UAT, and these are production, unless you don't have a meaningful name. So, and also our look, like my resources also has a meaningful name which tells me, especially you put the subscription ID. So 0220, again, this is something optional. No one is forcing you to give a name like this, but it's a best practice to always keep a number to represent that this is your 0220 is your development environment, or like 040 is your UAT, or 060 is your production. It's up to you what number you want to give. But yeah, it's a best practice to give the number for your subscription and also for your resource group. Now next, so as I was mentioning here, right, like so you see here you can search for anything. Like if I search for say virtual machine, it will give me these options, right? These are the services. So at the top it will give you the most relevant service, so which is virtual machine, and then under this it will list all your virtual machines. Okay, similarly if you search here for a storage account, so here it will list you all the storage account, plus it will also list you the storage account from all your subscription. Okay, it's not like restricted to, you're not choosing any subscription here, though you have this option to filter it on the subscription. So for example, if I want to see only 220, here I can choose this. So now it will filter me down to only 220 storage accounts. Okay, similarly I can also filter on my resource group. I mean, this is the main reason I was saying that you should have a meaningful name, because if I do 220, then I know, okay, I'm talking about this particular resource group, which is my development or IST resource group. And you can, it makes it very easy to filter. Location is nothing but location is um, your data center location, right? So you will choose the nearest data center to get a optimal performance. So data center is something, where, I mean, you might be aware of what data center is. Data center is like you can imagine like a big warehouse kind of building, where they have like heavily storage accounts they have, not the storage account, but like the storage they have, like you can imagine like a big hard disk where all the data is stored. So there is a data center in India, there is multiple data centers in India, and there is a data center in US, Canada, right? So I mean, if you search like Azure data centers, this will give you the global structure of Azure, and will tell you that okay, my data center is here. You can explore it, right? It will tell you okay, where is my data center, and as I said, right, you will choose the data center which is nearest to your location. I mean, if you are in India, so see, there are like 80 locations worldwide. Now if you're in India, you don't want to choose a data center which is in US, because of the performance. I mean, nobody's again, nobody is like, this is how it looks, this is how the data center looks. As I mentioned, right, these are like a big buildings, and they have like, so this is in India, Pune, and this is in London. Yeah, so you will choose your data center wisely. So if you are say in India, Delhi, then you will choose Delhi data center, not Pune. Whereas if you are in Pune, you will choose Pune. So based on the availability of the data center near your location. Like I'm in Canada, so I always use the Canada Central data center. How do you know like what is my data center? So if you go to this, all the details is under the overview. So you look here, Here it says what is the resource group, and then here it says what is the location, which is Canada Central in my case. You cannot change the location once the resource is created. So you need to be very much, careful when you're creating your, and as I mentioned before, right? All the resources, they have the same structure here. They have the same menu, almost the same menu. Okay, so you will have the overview, you have the activity log, you have the tags, and diagnose and solve problems, access control, data migration, events, almost the same. We will look into each of these resources in more details later. Okay, so what are these properties? We will look into that more detail. And then, as I mentioned, right, you can go here and you can see different resources. From here you can do a search, and then you know it will say, like, create a resource. So you can create any resources. We will start looking into creating one resource in our next video. Plus here, it will also show you something like you can open a shell where you can write a command, because behind the scene it's all programming. I mean, though it looks like it's a nice user interface, but behind the scene it has the um, programming, right? And then here you have notification. Notification means, suppose you're creating a resource and if there is any issue in creating the resources, you will get it here in the notification. Right now I don't have any notification, but if I create a resource, if there is an issue with the resource, it will show me in the notification. Then you have something like the settings. Settings means, like, if I want to change the appearance, I can change the appearance of my portal. This is more for the portals. And then you have something called the support. So this feature is very handy. If you have any issue, like for example, if you don't know how do I create, say, storage account, you can simply type the question here. Or if you have any issue with say login, or with your storage you cannot access, then you can type it here, and then you can also raise a ticket with the same option. We will go into this in more details, like in my other videos. Here it will show you the login, like how you have logged in your email ID and all. And this is something called Copilot, which is like a you can say, like, this is AI, Azure AI. Okay, which is very handy, because I mean, I don't have access on in my organization, but here you can type in anything, and then it will give you the details, like, with the AI. So which is very cool. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comment, or if you have any doubt on today's session, just let me know. I can spend some more time and explain you in detail. Again, this was like the introductory session, where I just wanted to make you familiar with how the Azure portal looks like, and what are different navigations, what are different options, and pretty much it is standard, right? So you see this whenever you log in, whichever region you log in from, because it's the same portal. You're logging in using portal.azure.com, and it will bring you to the home. For now, I hope you're enjoying, and then please remember that you need to practice, because it all comes with the practice. And make sure that when you're creating any subscription, the resource group, make sure that you're giving a proper name and a proper number. Okay, have a good night from me, and we'll come again with the next session. We will look into one particular resource.